How's it going? It is me. It is I. I am him. Oh, okay. There we go. Oh, hold on. There we go. There we go. I was wondering why you're staying still like that. I was so
Yeah.
a little technical difficulties, but we out here. I am here with good friend Tom Baum. How are you, brother?
Oh, just sweating out the alcohol from the celebration of the match earlier today. But we on a different topic now.
Yes. We celebrated the men. Now it's time to celebrate the women, and we have a wonderful guest. Before we went live, Connor pointed it out. A couple of weeks ago, at the beginning of the season, did a Carabao Cup preview with all four United, the men's, and so now we've just made it a full-on family affair because now we're working with the other half. Some say the better half of all for United, and so Shady Gang, give it up. Welcome our co-guest for this, Connor from All for United WFC. How are you, friend?
I like that introduction. I don't get that when I'm hosting over on WFC, but there we go. No, thanks for having me on. I'm excited. The transfer window for the WSL streak last night. It was a busy window, working late into the night. But no, I'm excited to talk about it because this will be my first one actually talking about it. I've got a few shows next week and a few other things, but so this is you have the privilege of hearing my thoughts first on everything that we've just seen over the last couple of months in the transfer window.
Well, we are honored, and you can hammer out these ideas. So feel free if you need to get some sort of hot take or some burning thought off that might anger your fans over there. Feel free to just get them out here. Just get that weight off of your chest, off of your shoulders.
Do you want me to go through? Where do you want to start? I feel like there's.
Start with the departures because I feel like there were so many departures for your squad that I'm not sure that I know who's playing midfield for you all anymore.
That's fair.
I don't know. I don't think the departures was as big of a problem as the media has made out this summer. I can't lie. I think midfield is potentially. I feel like we were a bit too heavy in midfield anyway in terms of numbers that we had. Midfielders that we let go this window were obviously Katie Zellum is the big name. I think if you're looking at it on paper, obviously captain the side, played every game bar one last season. So I think when you're looking at it from her point of view, that's definitely a big name. Irene Guerrero also left. Again, big name, but I think she had 8 appearances last season. Most of those were off the bench. So I wouldn't say that she's going to be a massive loss, albeit I can understand the frustration when we're letting her go like that because it's not the plan that I think that people would have had for her. So I don't think the outgoings have been, I'm just counting up in my head now, six outgoings in total, 7 if you include a loan deal for Alicia Ahern as well. And also Grace Clinton is coming back from loan as well. So that's technically another addition to the team. So it's essentially one in, one out in every position that we've had. So I don't think it's been, for me, I'm going to say this a lot. I think this has been our best window that we've had. I think the incomings are definitely upgrades on what we've let go. And I think we're in a really good place. I think it's always going to get, the summer started off really rough, with the reporting around the whole portable buildings, with United and, obviously new structure for the women's team. And then you lose your captain, you lose a player like Mary Earps and so on, and Lucia Garcia, who was player of the match in the cup final. It's always going to be a big negative start. But I think after that, I think we've surprised a few people this window. Now we're just going to wait and see what we actually see on the pitch.
So about Mary Earps' departure, you said that you feel like you improved at almost every position. You still only have 2 keepers on the roster. Do you think that Fallon Tullis-Joyce is an upgrade over Earps?
That's the only one that's going to be difficult to tell. I think if you asked a lot of people, we tweeted the ins and outs earlier on, and everyone kind of put the score down as like an 8 out of 10 because we didn't get a goalkeeper. Now, every information I've had and everything that's been reported is kind of lines up exactly the same, that United were desperate this window to get a goalkeeper in, whether that be to challenge Fallon or to to take the number 1 or to be the number 2. So I do feel we probably needed to get one over the line because neither Fallon or Saf Mendelssohn Patel have got WSL experience. So I think we would have needed that. Do I think it's an upgrade? Potentially. Only time will tell. We don't know how Fallon's going to settle. I think from what we saw of her in the Conti Cup last season, she's an exceptional shot stopper. I don't think that's going to be in doubt. Her distribution is potentially something that can be worked on. But again, these are things that can be worked on. And to be honest, it's not exactly something that Mary Earps was exceptional at last season either. So I don't think that's going to be any kind of downgrade, so to speak. So when a lot of the reports were United haven't replaced Mary Earps, when in actual fact we replaced her last summer when we brought in Fallon Tullis-Joyce from the NWSL anyway. So yes, I would have liked another keeper because I do worry if we get in touch wood, if we get an injury to Fallon, our next keeper is a very good keeper in Saf Mendelssohn Patel. She's an exceptional keeper, but she's still unproven and young coming through the ranks. So that's a little bit of a concern should there be an injury there, and we may see a case that we get some kind of like emergency loan coming in if that is to be the case, because I wouldn't be surprised to see us testing the market again in January, to be honest, because everything I've heard this window, we were very desperate to get one over the line, but just left it a little bit late and run out of time.
Okay, well, let's look at City's end and their.
Should we talk about City's departures?
Yeah.
So departing City was Ruby Mace, Felipa Engeldahl. I
have them all here.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Yep. Ellie Roebuck, she went to Barcelona. Esme Morgan went to Washington Spirit. Even though I love what she's done, and she's still brought that social media energy over to Washington Spirit, which actually is a perfect place for her when it comes to like it's team that also, embraces and does great things on social media. Steph Houghton retired. Demi Stokes went to Newcastle United. Felipa Engeldahl is over to Real Madrid. Ruby Mace, Leicester City. And yes, a couple of our young players are on loans. Eve Annitz went to Pompey, and Poppy Pritchard is over at Crystal Palace.
Yeah, I mean, if you're asking my opinion from an outsider point of view on Man City, I think City are a weird team in terms of, again, you two might know more than me on this. Obviously, well, they've a little bit more than me. I always look at City and think that they never do too much in a window. They're never the busiest. There's never loads of outs. There's never loads of ins. But I think I know we're talking about departures, but I think keeping hold of players has been a bigger part than the players that, essentially what I'm trying to say is I think the players that City have let go, I don't think are going to be huge losses. Keeping hold of the likes of Chloe Kelly, Lauren Hemp at the back end of the season. Alexandria as well was another player that was heavily linked with a move away as well. That was looking likely that was potentially going to happen as well. So I think the departures, I don't think are anyone of note. I think Ellie Roebuck's probably the big one out of that, and Esme Morgan potentially. But I think Engeldahl again was for me a little bit hit and miss. And the other players in obviously a couple of youngster loans and things like that, which happens at every club. So I think City have done well actually to keep hold of the players like your Lauren Hempstead, Chloe Kelly's and Alexandria's and so on, rather than letting all those go. Because I think if those would have gone as well, then we'd have been looking at the City window as a potentially a poor one if they weren't adequately replaced as well.
Yeah, shout out to Niels Nielsen. It would, in his short time with the team, his focus was retaining the stars they have and looking forward to the future. I think they did just that, especially in this transfer window. When we get to the arrivals, they did a really good job at solidifying their squad and getting a lot of just tiny diamonds that I know that's not how diamonds work, but they'll grow into giant diamonds with they're fantastic young players. And I'm so locked in. Like you said, they usually don't do much in the transfer period. And this has been a crazy furious one.
Right.
You have what, like 4 keepers now? Like what's going on?
Five.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
what is this team? And so like it's fun to see this after being almost frustrated for so many years with losing key players and kind of having back to back. I feel really good. Our transfer windows. It's nice. I'm getting used to this. So keep it up, team.
And Connor, you didn't even mention probably the biggest in-season signing, which was Yui Hasegawa for the club, because the club doesn't operate like the way that it wants to without her playing as defensive holding midfield. Like it just doesn't.
Oh no, I agree. It's I have this debate a lot with people when we're talking about the wide WSL. I think, and again, I don't like big in city players up too much for obvious reasons. However, I think she is, well, for me, she's the best midfielder in the league alongside. I think if you had a midfield three of like a Grace Clinton, Yui Hasegawa, and Erin Cuthbert, for me, that's my kind of midfield trio that I think is the best in the league at the moment. So, yeah, I can't speak highly enough of her. Everyone says she's a bit overrated. She's not overrated. She's underrated, if anything. Again, it's one of those players that just goes under the radar because she's just there. She just does what she does. So yeah, that was massively important keeping hold of her because yeah, she is crucial. And obviously for City, you're going to have Jill Roord coming back in as well in kind of a couple of months' time as well. So that's almost going to feel like a new signing.
Yeah. Well, anything else, Tom Baum, about the departures before we get to the rivals?
No, I'm gonna miss Ruby Mace. That's probably the one that hurt the most. But I think that to Connor's point, like none of them were like players that had a position in the starting position in the squad locked down. So you can be okay with losing that depth as long as you're replacing that depth. And you're about to get into how we replaced it.
Yeah. And should you want to go back to United and talk your rivals?
I could talk about that for hours because I don't even know where to start because I could list through them all as being a key signing because I think they are. I've not long written a piece on this that should be out next week on the kind of the impact that some of these signs are going to make. And I think, again, I mentioned Grace Clinton. That's going to feel like a new signing for us. Her coming back from loan, a very successful loan to Spurs. But I think United this summer, before I kind of give an overview and then maybe dive into a couple of them individually. United this summer have been clever and a lot more, I think smooth is the right word to summarize it. Last summer, it was very chaotic. A lot of deals were left very last minute. Now, I know that kind of contradicts what I just said about the goalkeeper, but most of the other deals were dealt with very early in the window and very quick. Whereas last summer, it was so chaotic. I didn't hear one good thing really about United in the way that we're handling things, whether it's contracts or negotiations for fees and things like that. It was really slow, and we saw a lot of players arriving late. Similar with the outgoings last summer, we saw so many, whereas this season we've only seen 6. So it's been a complete turnaround from where we were 12 months ago. And the types of players we're bringing in, you're bringing in multiple Champions League winners and players that have won things on the international stage, whether that's Mallard or Janssen and these kind of players. And then you've got the younger ones coming in. I say younger ones like they're ridiculously young, but the likes of Elizabeth Turland and Sandberg and these kinds of players that are just about to start hitting their peaks in a couple of years. So hopefully that's with us. So I think United have bought smart. They bought in the positions that they need to buy in. Turland was one. As I said a bit earlier on, it's almost like a like for like. You've got Bizet, who is a Lucia Garcia replacement. Awujo is essentially a Kate Zelen one. Turland is for Paris. Sandberg, you could argue, is kind of like your Blundell kind of swap because obviously she is going to be out for the season with a pregnancy now, and Dominique Janssen as well. Now that's a player that can play in a number of positions. She can play in that defensive midfield role. She can play in the centre back position or at left back. So that's a player there that can cover a couple of positions, which we saw Gemma Evans kind of filling in at centre back and left back last season as well. So from that front, and you add in the fact that Emma Watson is coming back from her ACL injury. Gabby George is also coming back from her ACL injury as well. That's another 2 additions that we didn't have last season. So when people look at the ins and say that we're a bit short, we've also got 3 players that we didn't have last year in Clinton, Watson, and Gabby George as well. So for me, as I said, it's been one of our best windows, partly because it's been more efficient, it's been quicker. So a lot of these players have had a full pre-season. But again, I think we've shocked people. You know, you're looking at the start of the window and everyone's like, Mallard's never going to stay at United. She's won the Champions League multiple times. Like, she's at Lyon. Why would she leave? Well, we got her, and now she's on a permanent. Dominic Janssen, the same. A player that's, you know, kind of at the top of her game and everything else. Another player that we've managed to convince. Turlin was widely, you know, wanted by quite a lot of clubs. You know, second top scorer only behind Bunny Shaw last season in the WSL. She comes to United. So I think there's a reason these players are signing. And it's a promising sign for the future that these players are choosing to spend some of their best years of their career at United, when you wouldn't really think it with kind of the media speculation and the noise that kind of goes around United, certainly at the start of the window.
Well, if I can just stay there before we go back into the players, why do you think the players are coming to sign in spite of all of the noise that has been going around the squad? Because yeah, I've seen all the posts, I've heard all the things when he's lost Katie and a few other players early in the transfer window. You know, I kikied, of course, naturally over here, but started making some moves and things were happening. And now hearing you sound very hopeful and excited, and the way that you have described it, it really does sound like United is in an upward trajectory, which is, it's good. That's what you technically want in the league, is for as much good football as possible. But back to my original, what are you hearing that are seeing, or what is your thoughts as to how United, they're able to bring in so many key players despite media kind of pooing on you guys at the moment?
I think there's an excitement in terms of the project. It's under a new regime, if you want to call it that. Obviously, there's a lot of people, and still some more people to come in. You know, there's been a couple of changes in the coaching setup as well this season, and kind of being sold on that idea that the club is going in the upward direction. Obviously, recently won the FA Cup. That helps because it shows you can win these major trophies as well. Now, obviously, if you look to the league form last season, that wouldn't be a great selling point for you for the season. Now, the reports around United were obviously not good. They you know, and we all read them. You know, it was shocking to read at the time, but it was always, I think, overblown in terms of what it actually was at the time. And we've now seen since reports that have since clarified the situation at United and what's actually going on. So I think, you know, when you listen to Mark Skinner and he's talking about Barada and Ashworth being very big fans of the women's team and really want to push that on, I think that obviously helps as well when you've got people above the manager that are really invested in driving the women's team on as well. And again, every player that's joined, I mean, quite a few of them are United fans. That helps, you know, if you go into the club that you support. But equally, all talk about the squad unity. They've come in straight away and settled almost immediately. And I think players from the outside must see that. You know, if you've got, you know, if your friends are at that club and you hear good things there, every player that's come in and done an interview so far has spoken about, oh, I spoke to so-and-so before I joined, and this is what they told me about the team. And it's always been in the positive light. Now, don't get me wrong, there are obviously questions around the manager, and I'm sure we can talk about that separately. But again, it for me, it's outside of what you see kind of behind the scenes and everything else. Keep that contained. And it could be a really strong season if you can keep that together. Now, obviously, we don't know what's going to happen there. But again, like I said, it just goes back to the project. A lot of players have been sold on the idea of, again, this is probably something we're going to talk about a little bit separately, but they've changed a lot this summer. There's going to be a lot of new or a new kind of system put in place for next season from what I understand of it. So I think that's exciting for players. There's a lot more individual work and working on separate things in terms of partnerships and so on the pitch as well. So I think that's exciting if you're a player to improve individually, but also as part of the team. So there's a lot of those kind of conversations, and I think that's interesting if you're an incoming player, to grow personally, but also as a team as well.
Yeah, thank you for answering my question. All right, well, let's talk about the players City brought in, because we joke about it. 3 players brought in, to all incredible players, Yui's national teammates, and just, I remember a random video last year, like an interview with Yui, and she was basically just talking about how she just missed home, like she can handle it, and she missed the food and stuff like that. Just basically, just all she does is just stay at home and cook that food, and so now she can stay home and cook the food with these teammates: Risa Samizu, Aoba Fujina, and Ayaka Yamashita.
Watashi wa City.
I love it. I mean, I guess maybe I should probably get some of those songs for the show. Side note, even Naomi Lazelle, Gracie Pryor, and Katie Startup. What I love about Gracie Pryor, she's a player from the academy, getting her first professional contract. Reading, Bristol City, Brighton are able to, well, just in general, I love how you're just getting players from all over the place. And I think that is key to building like a truly good team, because you need to bring players from different leagues who have different experiences, and they can just kind of share all of their best attributes and just make an amazing, fantastic team. The Town, which of the rights? Oh, yeah,
I think you left out the most important one, which is Vivian Miedema. Like, that's the one that has the most cachet, at least amongst in the WSL.
My bad.
That's
oh, for some reason I have it like in a different color, so it just like blended my brain. Yeah, she's there. My bad, but thank you.
Okay, no, you're good. But I think that what she can offer is, and I think that you saw City struggle down the stretch when Bunny got the injury. Like, they couldn't score, like, because Bunny was she was the Golden Boot winner, but no one else like was really able to score goals when we needed them to score goals. So now when you have at least 2 proven goal scorers, not only does that give you the flexibility to bring one of them off the bench, but that also gives you the flexibility to change formations and change tactics so that you could play both of them at the same time. And WSL backlines do not want to see Bunny Shaw and Vivian Miedema running at them. Like, I can guarantee you that.
Yeah. And Aoba Fujino, I'm so excited to watch her play on the wings. I akin her to basically like Doku. Like, she's gonna be like Savino. She's going to make defenders miserable the entire season, coming on as a sub to these players with tired, heavy legs. She is the last person that you're going to want to see.
I mean, the fact that go ahead, Connor.
No, I was just going to say, no, I completely agree. And I think City have, again, brought what they needed to at the right time. Obviously, with Shimazu's injury is really disappointing, actually. And obviously, from her point of view and from the fans, because, again, a player that I really rate as well. So I'm gutted for her that she's going to be missing the season as well. But I'm intrigued, Thomas, where your thoughts on, again, just where all these players are going to fit in, because I think City don't rotate a great deal in terms of the 11 and so on, but the players that have been bought in, you're kind of looking at going, okay, are they a backup? Are they going to be challenging that position? Are they just there to kind of, I don't know. I look at some of the players that are signed, I think, where are they going to play in that team?
I think this is just so many of the signings seem to be like, okay, hey, we're going for it in Champions League. So like the first week of the season is going to, in a lot of ways, be season defining for this club, because you play Paris FC away, host or go to Arsenal, and then host Paris FC in the comeback leg at the tie, and that's gonna. we lost to Arsenal twice in the league. We did beat them in the FA Cup, which was nice, but um, they were really our bogey team for most of the season, and I think that you're seeing this club decide that they're going to have depth behind the players that they already have because they also want to compete in Champions League, and they want to make a deep run into Champions League. I mean, you don't get a player like Vivian Miedema with if you don't want to go far in Champions League. I also think the number of goalkeepers that we have like does seem excessive, but um, excuse me, getting in Yamashita, I think that's important for uh, her, who has a lot of international big game match experience, and also is important for Kiara Keating. So like she sees what a veteran keeper can do, because I don't think that I'm not gonna be smudged Ellie Roebuck, but I don't think that she was necessarily teaching Kira tricks of the trade necessarily. Whereas I think Yamashita would be more apt to do that. Um, so I do think that those players that we signed will play. It's just a matter of making sure that they might not play in all of the league matches, but like cup matches and Champions League matches, yeah, we're gonna see those players play.
So, Tom, I'm just making a note to talk about that whole Ellie Roebuck to Yamashita, who is more prone to teaching the trade. I don't want to get into that mess now, but during our recording tonight, let's have some fun, shall we?
All right, I'm down.
But yeah, anything else from our end? Because there's still so much to talk about, so I don't want to stay on anything too long. Do you have anything else about either side's City or United, Connor?
But I'm just intrigued, as kind of just said there. I'm intrigued to see how, when everyone is fit, when Joe Roard comes back, obviously with Shaw and Miedema are all fit, where does everyone play? Like, and what does that City front line look like? Because you can say put Viv in the 10, which is fine, but then that's kind of impeding on Jill Roard a little bit. You can play Viv and Jill together, but again, is that taking someone else? But Jess Park is also there as well, who I thought was brilliant as well. And kind of out, why do you then go for a front two, which is then taking one of Hemp or Kelly's kind of positions as well, unless you go 4-4-2 or something like that? I don't know. I don't know. I'm just intrigued when everyone's fully fit to see what that front line looks like. It's a very good front line. It's a nice problem to have. I think that's the question on everyone's mind, looking to see, just going, how is that going to work?
Because on a minutes restriction, I know that. So at least at the beginning of the season, I think that's going to fit perfectly. She's going to be, in my opinion, a sub for Bunny to help Bunny get some rest, come in, do her thing. Roard also, it's going to be slowly coming on. I do worry about Park getting lost in this, but yeah, I don't think we're going to lose the wide players because Hemp definitely has to play, and Mary Fowler is trending upward, and it's Chloe Kelly's Chloe Kelly. So I'm with you. This team is set to be able to play in multiple competitions if Gareth trusts the team. We too could talk about Gareth Taylor, and we might have some takes on him. I have been trying to be less harsh on him, especially since the extension has been signed. So we're stuck with the man. So I can't be like dunking on him all the time. But yes, I'm intrigued. Tom,
I think we say this every season, but I think this truly is the season that Gareth Taylor is going to earn his money, because if you don't get into the group stage of Champions League, if you don't make deep runs into both the Conti Cup and the FA Cup, if you don't, come sniffing distance within, the league, like there should be questions about Gareth Taylor's job security, like, because he there's no way that you can't say that he does not have the pieces to succeed and at least accomplish 2 of those 3 or those 4 goals that I just laid out.
Yeah, I'm with you. Cool. All right. Well, speaking of managers, let's just move to the managers.
Yeah, Connor. I'm actually interested because I would like to do this exercise because I'm interested to see like what your perspective is on Gareth Taylor, because like I have several takes on Mark Skinner.
I mean, I've always kind of looked at Gareth Taylor and thought, and I still think this. I think his player management skills are probably not to the level of maybe other managers in the league. I do think he's a very good tactical manager. I'll always say that. I think when you're looking at some of the big games, I think he does get those majority of the time spot on. I think when you're looking at it from that, I think he is a good tactical manager. It's maybe the player management side of things that maybe let him down a little bit. I don't know what the structure is behind him and so on. And I always say that a top manager needs a good team behind them. It can't just be the manager. You need a good number 2 and you need a good kind of setup behind you to make it work. But I do agree with your kind of analysis that this is almost like a similar to Mark Skinner in many ways, that it's almost like a make or break season. You know, you can say that the team is there. It's what both managers would want. Now it's about showing it. Can City go that next step? Obviously, ran Chelsea pretty close last season for the WSL title. Can City then make that next jump and stops Chelsea from winning it again? Because someone's got to. You know, obviously United tried it a couple of years ago, just pipped on the final day. City again ran Chelsea very close. Like it's nearly there. Teams are getting very close to Chelsea. Arsenal the same a few years back as well. That's going to be the big question for City. Can they fight on all fronts? And can they just do that one step further and pit Chelsea? I think if City do that, I don't think there's going to be any conversations really around Gareth Taylor too much, because he'll have the trophies to back it up. I think at the moment it's just that element of teams played well last season. Obviously no Champions League, no Cups, and no obviously in the league as well. It kind of dropped off as well. So that's going to be the big question for him this season.
I think that's fair. I think that Mark Skinner, like having watched him play or manage Orlando Pride and then coming to United, the type of football it seems that he wants to play seems very different than what he wanted to play in Orlando, and that's fine. Managers do change and adjust. I wonder, like, if you don't have a firm definition of like what you want to do tactically, like if you don't have like that one firm piece that's carrying over, like is it difficult to teach that to your players? And I think to your point about Gareth's player management, I think that Mark Skinner has a little bit of that too. Like I think that it was very apparent that Mary Earps wanted to leave, and to me, all of what I could ascertain seemed to be that Mary Earps wanted to leave because of Mark Skinner, and that could just be perception. I don't know the answer to that.
Again, I've got to be pretty careful because I've got to be. I'm intrigued to know who would be watching this on your Twitter, because I know that there's quite a lot of people that do follow the WFC accounts. But what I will say, I think with Mark Skinner, I disagree on Mary Earps. I think she was likely going to go anywhere. I think she when Mary Earps put a post out, I think it was very apparent that, I mean, what she was saying was correct in that the club is going through a transition period. It was a new structure. You look at the profile of players United have bought this summer, it's very young. It's a very, the players that have been let go are on kind of the late 20s, 30s mark. The players that we bought in are all kind of low 20s. It's a very young team going into the season. It's kind of a new transition. So I think Mary Earps was right in her kind of post that she put out there that's the reason for leaving. I don't disagree with her in terms of the way her contract was handled. It probably was bad because everything for the last kind of 18 months prior to this summer was bad anyway. So she probably is right on that as well. With Mark Skinner, I mean, look, I said earlier on, and again, I'm going to say this throughout the next kind of few weeks. This is a make or break season for him. It's fourth season in charge. He's been backed heavily this summer. He's got the players I think that he wants. He's got a very good squad. Certainly top 3 level squad. I think third is probably about where it is. Some fans would say higher. Some fans would say you're talking nonsense, a bit lower. It's up to them to make their own minds up on where they think the squad is. But for me, it's there or thereabouts. So it's important now for him to get that right on the pitch. Now, you talk about his style of play and so on. Last season, I think from what I gather from the general fan conversation, and we do our shows and speaking to people on there, that the frustration was what he was saying in press conferences and interviews was not matching up to what we were seeing on the pitch. So I could understand what he was saying in terms of the way he wants to play with the high energy and the aggression and everything else. That's perfectly fine, but that wasn't translating to on the pitch. And I think when you're saying something so relentlessly in interviews, week after week, it's the same thing, and we're not seeing it on the pitch. Something is clearly going wrong behind the scenes. That message just isn't being carried out on the pitch. So that was definitely an issue last season. Now, as I said, obviously next season, I would expect. Marcus spoke about this, so I can, that there is going to be some kind of system change for next season. We are going to be a different looking team. He's not just making that up. I'm reliably informed that is going to be the case next season. And I think it's exciting from that point of view, but again, it's got to work. We can't go into another season. I think the FA Cup was amazing. First major trophy, obviously after Case Tony won the championship as well, but first major trophy, it was brilliant. That was such a high. Then Mark Skinner got announced that he was signing on for another year, had that extension, and then we got absolutely humiliated at Old Trafford against Chelsea. And that's the last time we saw United women play. We've not seen them since because we can't watch the pre-season games at the moment. So I think there is still the doubt going into the season. The only way he's going to have to manage that is by winning games. And we've got Chelsea on match day 3. So the games are coming thick and fast. Providing we get to Christmas and we're in the fight for the title or the top 3, I think he'll be fine for the rest of the season. If we get to Christmas and we're kind of 5th, falling away from the top 3 already, I think he's in real danger, because I don't think the new structure, the likes of Ashworth and so on that are above him and Matt Johnson and people like that are there at the moment, I don't think they're going to let that slide for another year of falling away from the top 3. Certainly with the money that's been spent this window, the players that have come in, yes, there's going to be an adaptation period with these players. There's got to be some. Some will hit the ground running that have already been in the league, but there are going to be some others. But they've worked hard. They've had a full pre-season, as I said, to work on this new system to get players integrated. So for him, it is a massive 6 months. I say that because he needs 4 or 5 months, whatever. He needs to get to Christmas for his own future, because it's only a 1-year contract. There's an option in it for a further year, but it is only a 1 year. So I've kind of said it's almost like being on performance review. That's how I've kind of looked at that. I think if the club really wanted him and fully backed him, he'd have got a 3-year contract back in May. He didn't. He got a 1 year. And I think that's basically to say, right, here's the players, here's the squad that you want. Make that work. If you make it work, you'll be rewarded at the end of it. If not, I think I will go and look elsewhere for another manager come the end of May. So, I mean, I really am intrigued, because there's a lot of strong opinions around a manager, and I fully get that, because last season was nowhere near good enough despite the FA Cup. It was definitely off the pace with the squad that we had. But we're going into a new season with him in charge. He's certainly not going before Christmas, so I think we've got to see how this plays out, and who knows? I really don't know what to expect from United this season.
What I have to ask, whenever we talk about Gareth and if he should stay, if he should go, and the question always is, who would you replace him with? Who would you fill in that spot? And is that question any easier over on your end of Manchester?
Well, I do think this was part of the reason for keeping him, actually. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to give you an answer in terms of a name that I would want in, because I genuinely don't have any. But I do think there was an element of keeping him for a year because the manager they want wasn't available. We probably would have, well, it's heavily reported that was very similar on the men's side as well with Ten Hag, that they gave him a new contract because the manager they wanted wasn't available. And I think for the women's side, it was very much a case of, right, add that stability for a year. Let's see how this plays out. And if we need to change, at least we've got a few months to look around and to see if there is a potential replacement there. So there's definitely some good names across Europe. The thing is, with women's football at the moment, there's not loads and loads of top managers available right now to change in jobs. Either they've just gone into a new one or they've just recently signed a contract. So there are managers available. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of options if United were to change to go for. But I think that was probably in the thinking that let's just keep it stable over the summer, give him one more season, and just see how it goes. But that's always the question, isn't it? I think when you're looking at it, everyone always says that you can sack a manager, fine, replace them, whatever. What's the next step? There's got to be a next step, because I don't want to be in a case of, oh, he's sacked, gone, whatever, and then we're just like, oh, okay, so we're interim in for a bit, and then what? Is there a plan? There's got to be a plan for me. If we're going to get rid of him, that's fine, but then there's got to be a plan in place for somebody else to come in and take that.
I think that's so true, and I think especially in women's football that you can probably count on two hands in the world, like the number of head coaches that you would probably trust with your club. And I think that just that, to your point, like all of them either just got hired, just signed contract extensions. So it's difficult to find one of those 10 that is free and available. I think for me, if things do not shake out right for City, I think a coach that I would like to see it might be Adrian Gonzalez, who was the interim coach for Washington Spirit before Jonathan Heraldez came over from Barcelona. So I think he is a name that, especially based off of Washington Spirit's early form before Heraldez got there, he's a name that is probably going to start circulating around big jobs at clubs who are not performing very well.
Well, let's talk about the squad, and then we'll look at the season a little bit, and we'll get out of here. I don't want to hold anybody for too long. It's a Saturday. We got lives to live, right? I mean, y'all do. I don't. I'm just going to be kicking it at home. But the squad, Connor, I'll ask you, who is a forward, a midfielder, and a defender who will be important to the club this season?
Good question. I'm trying to stay away from the obvious names, actually. I'm going to try and think of... I mean, forward, I've got to go for Elizabeth Turlin, right? Because for me, I think she will push the Golden Boot this year. I think, again, I don't want to give my piece away too much, but there's something coming out from me next week about this that is just kind of diving in a little bit more into her. And, you know, her conversion rate, considering the amount of chances that Brighton were creating last season, was exceptionally high. And United are going to give her more service. So I think there's an opportunity for potentially more goals there as well. So I think definitely in a forward position, it's her. In midfield, you know, I'm actually going to give a shout out to a player. Now, you could obviously say Grace Clinton, these kind of players, again, exceptional players that will definitely make probably a bigger impact than the player I'm about to say. But I think if you're looking for an outsider, I think Emma Watson's definitely somebody that can add something different to United that I don't think we've got. Everyone, whether that's with my own eyes and people I've spoken to, you know, she's an exceptional footballer for her age as well. Again, now she's just coming back from an ACL injury, so that's going to be managed going into the season. But her pace on the ball, her trickery, a player that just wants to drive forward with the ball every single time, I think that will be important in kind of unlocking defenses when it's a little bit of a tighter game. So I think if you're looking for a player that's maybe not in the limelight, so to speak, just yet, that is definitely somebody I would keep an eye on throughout the season, certainly in the second half of it, to make a big impact in the team. And in the back line, you kind of, again, obviously the obvious players that are there, but, you know, Maya Letitia has just been made captain. So it's going to be a really big season for her, taking on a new role. Again, she was my preferred choice for captain, so I'm glad that she did get it. And I think that she'll be an exceptional captain and leader for the team. Janssen, as I've mentioned, but Jade Riviere, I think, is the player I'm actually going to give the shout out to in the back line, because she actually played more games than we thought last season, but she was riddled with injuries a bit. Now, I hope for her, she's into the last year of her contract now, so she kind of needs a big season. I hope for her that she does have an injury-free season, because we've seen we're a much better team when she plays. She offers the balance on the right-hand side. She's very strong in the tackle. She's very quick getting, you know, kind of up and down the line as well. So I hope for her she has an injury-free season, because one, she deserves it, but also we're a much better team when she is there. So those are 3 players. I've named about 6, but if you're looking for 3, Turlin, Watson, and Riviera are probably the 3, because I think they'll just have impacts for different reasons, providing obviously they all stay fit for the year.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to a back line that features both Jade Riviere and Gabby George in it, because that's very dangerous, like on both sides, like because they're both pretty good defenders as well as have the ability to get forward.
I'm definitely intrigued to see who starts on the left-hand side. Obviously, again, Gabby's similar to Emma, is just coming back from an ACL injury herself, but I do think it might be Anna Sandberg that starts the season potentially on the left-hand side. As we said, obviously no Blundell. So again, Sandberg, for those of you who haven't watched it, again, this is a player that's a little bit kind of injury prone as well. She's had a run with injuries, but she is lightning quick down that left-hand side. If we can get her, kind of on that flank, offering the attacking outlet as well as the defensive, she doesn't shy away from the physical battle either. So that's exciting. If you've got 2 players either side that are very similar, it's what worked so against. I don't want to take up too much on this, slightly going off Pete, but what worked so well for United 2 years ago when we pushed Chelsea for the title, it was Hannah Blundell and obviously Honor on the right hand side, and those 2 players, very similar, very quick, very good defensively as well. A lot of our goals came through our fullbacks, and I think we might see something similar going into this season with 2 players that are going to be offering as much offensively as they are defensively as well.
Tom, before you go, I was just looking at the women's lineup on Man City, and Jess Park is listed as a forward.
That doesn't surprise me. I think that there might be, like, to me, there's like 5 wingers. She's becomes one of 5 wingers that you could probably plug and play, like on either side. Like you have her, Chloe Kelly, Lauren Hemp, Mary Fowler, and Oba Fagino, who is probably a player that I'm most excited about. I mean, she is the reigning WE League in Japan MVP 2 years running. And having seen a WE League team play in person recently, they play some pretty good football. And I think that she's probably the player that I'm most excited about of all of the ones that City signed, just because her ceiling is so high. Like, what you're getting with Viv and it's going to be great, but it's only going to last for so long. Whereas with Oba Fagino, she's so young. Like, I don't even think she's 21 yet, and she's going to be here for a while, learning under Yui, who just signed a contract extension. Risa Shimizu is here, and you got Yamashita in goal as well. I think that will help her grow as a player.
Yeah. My forward, this is really tough. I can't not Bunny. I ordered 2 shirts this year, an away and the third, and I got Bunny on the away. Of course, I've been saying I was going to get a shawl jersey for the last 2-3 seasons, and I finally went through with it. Oh, that had to be my choice for the forward. And then midfield, I mean, there's only 4 to choose from. Tom Baum, what are your thoughts on midfield?
Oh, I cheated. I'm picking Viv. Because I think Connor's right. I think that she will play at the 10 a lot. I will be interested to see if maybe they make her a 10 and make Jill a 8. She probably won't love that, but I could see it happening. And then just have Yui behind her. And then for the defense, I'm going to go with Yamashita. I think that she is going to see quite a few matches this season.
Yeah. For defense, for me, it's got to be Greenwood, aka Queenwood. I just love what she does on that team. The way she gets the ball forward, just her running back whenever the team is counterattacking on us and she's running back or a player's running at her, I just have this sense of calm that I just don't know how to describe. I'm just such a big fan of her, and she just allows like Leia and Casper Eyes and just all these other players to Leia, both of them, to move up, move forward, do their thing, help participate in the offensive part of, because like you said earlier, Tom Bunny can't do all the scoring herself. We have tons of people to facilitate the ball to her, and that's kind of the big problem. You know, who's going to help her score this season? Yeah, and then midfield, I don't know, whoever is going to help score. That's what I'm saying, because we struggled even during the preseason to score goals. Lots of facilitating. We got in front of the goal tons of times. Just the ball really just didn't go in the net. So whoever's going to help us score, assists, goals, whoever you are, you show yourself. I believe in you.
Agreed. 100%.
No, it's not an answer, but I don't know. The midfield that's actually the part of our team that scares me the most.
Yeah, and I think that's why Ruby Mace's departure was the one that hurt the most. Hello?
Is he froze or is that just me?
Did we all freeze?
I think we got some technical issues here. It's not me. I'm still. I can hear you, Tom.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think he froze. It's just not great.
That's always the way.
But Connor, what are your expectations for this season? Like
expectations. So as I said a bit earlier on, I think the squad is good enough to compete within the top three. I think that's about where we're at. I think so. It's probably right to expect that we're going to be pushing for the top three. So that's where I want to see us. That's where I think we will be. I think we might see the top four split into two. I think it might become a City, Chelsea top two, and a United, Arsenal third and fourth. And kind of, I don't really have an order, but kind of it will between those teams. That's kind of where I'm leaning towards at the moment. Again, that might be completely different. We could go on an amazing winning run and be pushing for the title. But I think definitely top three is the expectation for this season. I think anything lower than that is going to be a bit of a disappointment. We would have to see some serious progress on the pitch in terms of the playing style and you know, kind of that brand of football for anything outside the top three to be considered anything close to a success. So I think that's kind of where we're at. Judging by fan opinion, that's probably about where most fans are as well. And just seeing that improvement, that's the thing. You want to improve year on year, and that's the best way I can see us improving is obviously in the league position.
Crank, you with us? Maybe not.
That's the end of that.
Right, exactly. I think for City, my expectation, I laid out that City's in 4 competitions, and to me, you gotta win one of them and make a deep run in another one. Whether that be winning the Conti Cup and, you know, losing to Chelsea on goal difference, or winning the league and making a deep Champions League run. You have to put hardware in the trophy case this year. Like, there's really no excuse not to. I know that Chelsea's gotten off to a hot preseason start, but Sonia Bonpastor has been known to do some weird things in the past. And I know that she has all of the talent in the world, it seems like, at her club, but she had that at Lyon too, and they didn't always win the Champions League, so or their league, so for that matter. So I think that City's got to win at least one trophy.
Yeah, that's probably about where I'd put City. As I said, I think City will be pushing for the title anyway, but I'm just intrigued with that Champions League. Can City really push on in that as well and kind of go on from there? I don't know. Obviously, United and City don't actually play until the turn of the year anyway, so we've got a while to wait and see, kind of how the two sides match up against each other. And the last home game of the season is... the last home game of the season for us is obviously the Manchester derby at Old Trafford. So in that horrendous running that we've got at the end of the season with Chelsea, City and Arsenal all kind of in a row. So I think we're not going to see, I don't think, the gauge in terms of where the two teams are until those play. But I certainly think with the play, I think you said this at the start, you don't bring a Viv Miedemar in to battle for third and to not compete in the cup. She's at a point in her career, she's going to want to push on into the last stages of the Champions League and pushing on for the league and doing those kinds of things. She's that kind of player. So again, I don't think you can afford to have a player like that and not really push on in those kind of areas as well. So that's definitely one to kind of keep an eye on. Similar to United in many ways, that you don't buy these kinds of players to just float around fourth or fifth.
Or like maybe am I going to get into Champions League football or maybe not, sort of thing. Yeah, no, you don't buy that. That's not why you buy those players. Well, I guess I got to wrap it up since Crunk is not able to. Connor, please tell the good people.
Hang about, it's just me on this channel now. Look at this. It's an All for United WFC takeover on this side of the pond, but I don't think I need to shout out my thing because it's all there on screen. All for United WFC. So I don't know whether I'm just going to leave it or what's going on. No,
what is happening?
What's going on? I felt like it was like an All for United WFC takeover on your channel. I think you should just wrap this one up before any more of us drop out. I feel like I'm going to drop out in a minute.
Technical difficulties. What is happening? Oh my goodness. Yes. Well, think what Tom was about to say is please plug yourself. Let people know where they can find you and the things that you do.
Yeah, I mean, God's sake, yes, I mean, All for United WFC. There, for those of you who are watching this, you probably already know who we are. And my own Twitter is just my name, Connor Roberts _, which is not that interesting, but all things over there. But no, it's been a good chat. It's been good to dive into the transfer window with it. All three of us are back now. What's going on? It's all going on. But no, it's been really good to chat with you both about all things. I'm sure we'll collab again soon. Certainly when the teams meet.
Absolutely.
Yeah, over in the turn of the year as well.
Absolutely.
Like that. We'd like that. Well, everybody who's watching, thank you for joining in with us. Please follow us on social media at Shades of Blue NW. If we're on the social media app, that's how you can find us. Check us out on YouTube as well, Twitch, all those fun things. We will be recording a new episode tomorrow night. That will be Monday. Tuesday for Manchester City men's match against Inter. I will be having Sempre Inters and the Italian football podcast's own Nima Roadsari on to talk about Inter. I'm super excited because he's a pretty cool guy. I've done a little research on him. He's a friend of a friend, so looking forward to connecting with them. And let's just get out of here before my internet crashes again. So appreciate everybody. See you all soon. Bye.